Welcome back to Portland Today. Today's Parenting SOS. We're making sure babies and toddlers get a good night's sleep.
You're talking so loudly.
Important, and we have an expert, Natalie Wiles, here. She's the author of Baby Sleep Trainer. She's like the baby whisperer.
Yeah, you're talking about creating a nice environment for the baby. Where do you start?
I'll speak at a more normal volume. No.
Yeah. Baby's awake now.
No, we'll talk. Yeah. Well, people think that there is a lot of stuff that you can do with their environment, but it's pretty simple. You only need 4 steps. They can sleep Yep, they can sleep in any room as long as it's dark. You have a sound machine. Your crib is empty and safe, and you should always have a video monitor to monitor your baby. But people think like more is more and less is more. You don't want to have stuff in their crib or even mobiles or anything like that. Those are the only things you really need. Nope.
Now what about a nightlight?
Wow.
It should be pitch black?
Yeah, so infants and toddlers are way more sensitive to light than adults are. Some humans are more sensitive to light than others, so you want to have it be as completely dark as you can possibly make it. Even if you're tending to a child in the middle of the night, it's best to use a hallway light instead of turning on any light within the bedroom. You really want to keep, they just came out with a study saying every time they're exposed to light, their melatonin drops, and it takes a long time for it to come back. So darkness is really key.
I always tried to think about it, create what they felt in the womb. And it was dark in the womb,
Yeah, and actually that's where white noise comes in. It was very loud. As soon as they could hear inside our bellies, it sounded as loud as a lawnmower, especially with newborns when you use pretty steady, pretty loud, something that sounds like a bathroom fan, no lullabies or anything like that. It really, really helps.
I ask you, what apps are good, Nat, for that white noise?
That's another excellent question. I actually don't like to use apps.
You don't?
No, because the quality, especially if people are tempted to use it on their phone or iPad, it's okay if you have an app and it links to like a speaker, but using a traditional sound machine is best. Or there are great sound machines on the market that are fans, and then the fan sound is amplified. That's really ideal.
That's what you mean when you say sound machine.
Yes, sir.
So we're not, none of the music playing.
No.
Like this is the app I have, and it's a fan, and this is to drown out my husband's snoring.
Yes, that's a great one. But you know, a real fan would probably even work better. One face towards the wall when it's cold, really loud. Your brain tunes into that sound, blocks out other sounds. It's pretty great, especially for kids and adults. Actually,
that's more annoying than snoring.
No,
I don't know.
You know, a lot of people don't like the white noise. That makes sense, but it's helpful.
What about the white noise of, you know, they have the river or the ocean?
So you want to, the brain is actually always listening, even when it's asleep. So you always want to avoid any sounds that have like back and forth, rain with thunder, whatever you listen to, it needs to be completely the same sound nonstop with no detectable loops or other sounds.
Interesting.
That's very
interesting. Boy, this is rewriting everything I thought of for, you know, the lullabies. So you can have a mobile and lullabies, but use them outside of the bedroom.
Yeah, or you know, a lot of people.
Playtime.
So sometimes there's some controversy on whether or not you should use the crib for things other than sleep. I personally like to use it for all sorts of things. Sometimes I would use it for timeouts. Sometimes I would put the mobile on and music while I put laundry away.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
You have 2.
Yes, very different. 2 children.
Right.
Did you find that the same techniques worked the same on each child?
Had I had my second child first, I would not be a sleep coach. So my second child was a lot easier of a sleeper, but I also think it probably had a lot to do with that I knew what I was doing.
When should you go back in the room? If they're like, you know, wrestling and you see them in the monitor and you're like, oh,
when your wife tells you to go in,
how long do you wait?
That's right. So it's not a bad idea to give your child as much time as you feel comfortable, perhaps a couple of minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. You of course want to go in right away if you think something might be wrong.
Sure.
But especially the younger that you start that, so when you really even pretty early on when they're newborns, if you just wait just a second, they'll often go. I mean, I remember bringing one of my children to nurse, and they were asleep before they even got to my, like they woke up, and I was like, oh, they're up, and then they were totally asleep.
Right.
So if you give them a little time, sometimes they'll just go back to sleep.
Because they figure out if they cry, mommy or daddy comes.
Well, sometimes they're not actually all the way awake, and it's you coming in that wakes them all the way up. So if you would have just let them be for a few minutes, usually they can sometimes go back to sleep without ever having to interact with you.
Good tips.
New to me is the empty crib. I mean, that's evolved since I had children. So you don't even have a blanket on the child. How do you keep them warm?
So you can use a sleep sack. Sleep sacks are awesome as long as there are arms free. Of course, with younger infants, you can use a swaddle. But as soon as they're 2-3 months or older, you really want to start using a sleep sack. Oh, there was a picture of one right there just a second ago.
And does that just pull up around the
So
child?
think of a sleeping bag. So it's a sack, right? You put them in, you zip it all the way up. It looks like this. There's no sleeves, so their arms are free. It's zipped up to the top, and they just kind of sleep in a sleeping
Rod,
bag.
you want one of those?
Oh yeah, so
there it is. It's beautiful. I want one.
There. Okay.
It's so cuddly. And what the rules have definitely changed between being on a tummy, being on back.
Yep.
What are the doctors
so
and experts say?
So you put your child down to sleep on their back their entire first year of life. No questions asked about that. There are different guidelines depending on who you're talking to. The consensus is if your child can flip easily both directions during the day while they play and they choose to flip to their stomach while they're sleeping, you can leave them there. It is a question to discuss with your pediatrician. It varies quite widely. Some will tell you as soon as they flip over, even if they can't flip back, that they can stay. Others will tell you to flip constantly. So it's really a good question for your doctor to clarify.
All right. Always good information.
Yes.
Nice to see you, Natalie.
Thank you for having me.
Sleep well.
Thank you too.
And